The manhwa begins with a backstory of the protagonist and an explanation of what is happening in this world. The protagonist is driven into a desperate situation by a powerful monster. Before his loss, the protagonist apologized to his sister for finding the one who had harmed her, and he also apologized to his employer for not being able to fulfill the order. The timer on the protagonist's watch was almost running out. The protagonist failed. The sudden storm has made mankind slaves to time since birth. This scale shows the length of a person's life. Once time reaches zero, a person becomes a monster, a temporal monster. To survive in this world you have to kill all the monsters, but not every one of them is so easy to deal with. And the main character failed, but his watch had 1 millisecond left, at which point the red ruby glowed bright red. Now let's go back a little bit. The story begins in Chuanzhou City, in the 9th hospital. Recently, the outbreaks have increased and the protagonist's sister was lying in the hospital. The protagonist was offered to take up an old job he used to do. If he could earn enough time capsules, he could move his sister to a better hospital. He promised her that she would be all right, and he would find whoever had hurt her and make the abuser pay for everything. After a while, the hospital director Wang entered his sister's room. He exclaimed to Lin Ku, the main character, that it was time to pay. But the payment time was set for tomorrow and the main character was not satisfied with that, but director Wang told him that now the price was raised and the time capsules had already been used up. The protagonist told him that previously he had made excuses to raise the price, but now he just raises the price whenever he wants. But director Wang did not care about his words. He told him if he was not satisfied with anything, he could take his dead sister and look for another place, because the main character's sister had spent a lot of time capsules. But the protagonist had no options, since if he were to take his sister from the hospital, she would die in a few hours. Lin Ku gave his lifetime to the director as payment and told him to use 5 time capsules. The sum is 7 days. Principal Wang was glad that he found time for himself, but he told the main character that it was enough for 5 days, and if he did not pay after 5 days, he would kick him and his sister out. The main character was critically needed to earn more time capsules. 16 years ago a meteorite fell from the sky. It caused more destruction. A strange firestorm arose. Those who touched the firestorm became time monsters. This clock records the length of each person's life. They can trade, interact with each other. After this happened, time became money. Food requires 2 hours of snacks, sweets, milk and tea. It takes 30 minutes for 1 tea and milk. Even if they want to have a baby, they also have to pay for 1 year of life, otherwise the baby will die. Those who survived not only had to endure the pain of losing their loved ones, they also have to experience much more stress. They have to work hard to earn time capsules to prolong life, and on the other hand they have to eat, as hunger causes time to shorten even faster, but some got rich through good luck. And if a person has no time left, he dies, and after death he becomes a time monster. At this time in the hospital one of the patients turned into a time monster. The protagonist did not understand how the monster got here, as the hospital was heavily guarded. He saw the monster wearing a bracelet which is attached to the corpses. The protagonist suggested that the monster was from the corpse room, but after all there they process the bodies before they become time monsters. The monster wanted to kill director Wang, but was terrified and exclaimed to the protagonist, if he protected she will give 3 months free treatment for his sister. The monster jumped on the director and was ready to kill him, but at the last moment the protagonist jumped and kicked the monster. He pulled out a small knife. This monster not long ago turned into a monster and its rank should be about D2. The protagonist needed to destroy only the core to kill the monster instantly. He did so and the monster died. Director Wang was surprised that Lin was so strong. He asked him what he was. The protagonist wanted to tell him what he works as. He held out his hand to help director Wang get up, but he exclaimed to him not to touch him as he had just killed the monster with those hands. Lin asked what about his promise of 3 months of free treatment for his sister. but he told the protagonist to get the hell out of here if he couldn't pay in 5 days. He was furious at the director and told him that sooner or later he would die. At the same time Lin understood that the area was too dangerous and he couldn't let his sister stay here and he needed to find a place to live. The protagonist was determined. He called his employer and said his name was Li Ku, he was a knight-errant and he was ready to accept their mission. In this crazy apocalyptic world, the refuge of humanity was the city of Chuanzhou. In this city there were 4 large knight squads. The first squad, the Knight Group of Glory, protect the city, provide security and prevent illegal events, as well as the police. Second squad, the Knight Protection Group, act as city guards, protecting the citizens, preventing the invasion of temporary zombies and monsters. Third squad, the Knights Marauder Group, they clean out neighborhood houses and procure resources for the city. The fourth squad, the Knights Band of Wanderers, they single-handedly carry out wilderness missions and maintain relations with the city. The protagonist went to the appointed place. He wore a mask and was not recognized by his old friend and told him to show him a pass. Lin Ku took off his mask and answered him, "Uncle Lu, it's me, Lin Ku. The wilderness area is very dangerous and ordinary people are forbidden to leave the city without permission." Lu recognized him and asked him how his sister was. He said she was still awake and asked him to open the door because he had to go to town. He opened the door for him and asked the main character to take care of himself and be careful, because lately there are more wandering monsters and the bridge towards Ming City was broken. Lin Ku thanked him for his concern and the protagonist went on his way. Lu looked at Lin Ku and thought, with the usual equipment to complete a wanderer mission, he doesn't even have the motorcycle that a wanderer knight uses. He is a genius knight who almost went to an apocalypse training camp, and now he has rolled down to this. The protagonist walked through deserted fields. Leave the city. His phone lost communication signal. The distance between Ming City and Chuanzhou City is about 80 kilometers. If the protagonist had transportation he would return within a day, but to pay his sister's medical bills he had to sell all his most valuable equipment and even his motorcycle. Without transportation, he could only move around on foot, which would take more than 3 days, which also meant that he would have to camp in the wilderness area overnight, and that was very dangerous and risky. He hoped he could find a safe place to camp temporarily for the night. He had an item he was asked to deliver to the town of Ming, and if he could deliver it he would get 200 days reward. Walking through the abandoned cities and broken streets, in an alley he noticed a temporary zombie. It was a distance from the city. A group of marauding knights were to clear the place out. He didn't understand why there were still zombies here. But luckily the light in the zombie's chest was faint, probably a D3 rank zombie. The zombie pounced on Lin Ku and almost grabbed him, but the protagonist dodged at the last moment and pierced the zombie's chest. This attack caused the zombie's core to fall out, as the chest of a temporary zombie is their weak point. By breaking the time crystal, people can absorb time energy inside, and such temporal zombies that travel alone are the easiest to hunt. After he broke the crystal, the time on his life clock increased by 130 days. After a while, the protagonist went to continue exploring cities on his way to Ming City, but unexpectedly he saw 3D5 ranked temporary zombies at once. If the protagonist is at the peak of his strength, he can only handle 2D5 rank zombies, so he decided not to fight with them and ran away from them in time. That place was too dangerous and ran up the stairs, and the first thing he had to do was hide. He went up to the top and there he ran into another monster. He was incredibly strong. His rank was D7. The protagonist was terrified. He started running away from it, because if he fought with it, he would surely die. But the zombie was very strong. It jumped on the protagonist and bit his shoulder. He was terrified as he couldn't die that easily. After all, his sister was waiting for him. He grabbed the zombie and threw it down the stairs. He went up to the roof to recover, but at that moment the zombie started to break through the door. The protagonist had no other option and had to take the risk. The zombie broke down the door and ran at Lin Ku in a rage, but he dodged his punch and pierced his chest. but unfortunately he didn't have enough strength to reach the core. The zombie hit the protagonist with his other hand and he flew away several meters away. He continued to attack Lin Ku, jumping on him. Lin Ku punched him in the face and threw the zombie over himself. The zombie fell off the roof. Lin Ku understood that a zombie of this rank would not die from such a height, but there was no point in him thinking about it as he was too badly injured and thought that even a god could not save him. The time on his watch was going by at an incredible rate. The days went by like seconds. He prepared for death and begged forgiveness from his mother and father for not being able to protect his sister. He also begged forgiveness from his sister for not being able to find the one who had wounded her to get back at him. The protagonist picked up the item to be handed to the customer and apologized for not being able to complete this task. The time on his life clock was almost gone. He was ready to die and gripped the crystal tightly. Time was only 1 millisecond away. But suddenly the crystal activated and a system notification appeared in front of the protagonist. It said that the time system was being activated. Lin Ku didn't understand what it was. He stood alone on the rooftop and wondered if the stone had become a system, and why his time had stopped shortening. The protagonist noticed that his wound had healed. The system activated and verified his identity. The system recognized him as Lin Ku. His power was at rank D6 and his lifespan was only 1 second. The system also showed him that he now had slots for character items as well as inventory. The main character found it hard to believe what was happening. The system gave him a beginner's kit. He was given a D-rank weapon, the Dagger of Burning Flame, D-rank gear, silent boots, and a D-rank skill book, a mountain crushing fist. With the Dagger of Burning Flame he could increase the temperature. Silent shoes, thanks to the power of the element, he can increase speed and reduce the noise created when moving, and with the Fist of Crushing Mountain he can increase the force of the fist blow. The system began to equip the main character with these items. He couldn't believe it. He thought it was a dream or illusion. But at that moment, the same zombie that fatally wounded him came up to him. Though the main character received 2 weapon upgrades, that zombie was still a D7 rank, and the lifetime of the main character is only 1 second. If he takes damage, he will die immediately. Lin Ku noticed that the zombie's leg was broken and it affected his speed. He decided to take advantage of this. He had no problem dodging his punch and pierced his chest with the mountain crushing fist skill, and a crystal fell from the zombie's chest. With the combination of the mountain crushing fist skill and the burning flame dagger, it does a lot of damage, because before that zombie was intimidating, but now it was kill with 1 blow. He took the crystal that fell out of the zombie. Breaking it, he got lifetime. Then the system notified him that his strength had increased to D1 rank level and he got 1 lottery and was unlocked D rank store. The protagonist had a hard time believing this, as his strength had not increased in a long time, but has now increased after killing a D7 rank monster. Confronting life and death trials is the fastest way to increase your level. Drawing a lottery was easy to understand, but Lin Ku didn't understand what a D rank store was for. The system opened the store and there were a large number of skills, equipment and weapons to buy, and the system alerted him as he would have an unlimited chance of getting the lottery if he wanted to proceed with the reward, and Lin Ku agreed. He received a supernatural divine rank seed. Improved special seed ignores physical awakening, can force people to awaken one or the other element. The protagonist stood in a stupor. He could not believe it, since physical awakening and elemental awakening cannot coexist together. No one can have both at the same time. A physical awakening of 1 in 10 will awaken the power of an element that can strengthen the physical body. One will gain intimidating fighting abilities. Elemental awakening 1 in 00 will awaken a mental power that allows them to create elemental power. Some can control water, some fire. The main character used a seed and gained the rare attribute of lightning. The elements are divided into water, fire, wood, earth, ice, lightning, and lightning is a rare ability. Regardless of what type of awakening, after awakening, people start from the lowest rank of D1 and continues to grow. Now that Lin Ku got physical strength and elemental strength, He became stronger than before, and now he can hunt zombies even faster. After which he was about to go to help his sister, but suddenly a girl came up to him and asked him why he was still alive. Lin Ko asked her, "Isn't she the customer?" She told him to stop calling her customer and call her by her name is Su Wei. Lin Ko asked her why she was here. Wei said she was worried and so she followed him. She asked him where her item was. He lied to her and said he lost her item but was angry with him as it was a gift for her mother and to get the item he almost died. Lin Ko asked her where she got the stone from. Wei answered that she found it and picked it up because it looked beautiful and decided to give it to her mother for her birthday. The main character made sure she knew nothing about the stone or its function. Wei said that Lin Ko should pay her compensation in the amount of 300 days, he looked at the lifetime and answered her that he did not have that much now. He offered to give her 100 days and he would pay her the rest later, and she agreed. They shook hands and thus handing over the lifetime. Wei thought it was a good deal since she had picked up that stone and no one even wanted it in the jewelry store, but now she had exchanged it for 300 days of life. After handing over 100 days, she told him he owed her another 200 days, and if he thought to run away she would sue him. Lin Ko agreed with her. She said she found it near the Minquan Bridge which had been blown up by men. Lin Ko wondered if it was because of the toxic rain that destroyed the bridge, then why did she say it was blown up? The protagonist thought about her words, for now he would have to think about how to find the knight errant with the car to get back to Ming Town. After a while they came down from the roof and Wei went about her business. Lin Ko wondered how he was able to pass unnoticed by those monsters. He had little lifetime left, so he decided to kill some zombies to gain time. Now if he was careful, he could kill 3D5 level monsters at the same time. He bravely and determinedly started attacking zombies, taking crystals from them, and now it was no problem for him. In a short time he handled 3 zombies and got 519 days life. He realized that with his current strength he could defeat even D6 level zombies. This is a great way to get in shape to earn some more time before he comes back. Now he and his sister can move to the outer area and change the hospital for his sister. The city is divided into 4 areas, from inside to outside, namely central area, inside, outside and outside. The closer to the extreme, the more dangerous. After a while, the system notified him that it took 300 days to buy a Class D genetic potion. Lin Ko confirmed the purchase. After drinking the potion, he upgraded his powers to D8, and thanks to that, he was rewarded with a lottery. The main character drank 4 bottles of genetic potion and finally went from D7 to D8, although it was expensive, but still faster than normal training, because if he trained on his own he would have reached the next rank in a year or 2. He had been killing monsters all day and because of that he had wounds. He had treated them but still needed help. He decided to buy a healing potion for 300 life days. Aside from water and food, outside of the city the most valuable items are medical supplies. Although absorbing the time crystal is profitable, if you're not careful, there will be more time lost than earned. Although it is a bit expensive, it will save more time than the usual treatment. The system informed him that he has a lottery and Lin Ko decided to use it. He got a shock protection for D-rank hands. They can be used as a shield, can greatly enhance the penetration ability in an instant. With all these improvements, he could combine them, and kill a D-rank D9 zombie with a single punch, but it was already getting dark and it was time for the protagonist to go back. But at that moment he heard screams of help. Lin Ko saw Su Wei as 3 zombies ran after her. She hid in one of the buildings, but the zombies were very strong and broke the wall without any problems. She was scared and thought she was about to die. But in a flash Lin Ko came to the rescue and killed those zombies. He asked her why she was still here as she was about to go back before. Wei explained to him that she was in a bad situation. On her way she had hired a knight to take her back to Minwan, but she didn't know it would be so dangerous. In addition the knight's motorcycle broke down and they were attacked by a bunch of zombies and she had no choice but to flee. Suddenly he interrupted her, and asked her where she wanted to go back to. Wei awkwardly replied that she was wrong and wanted to say Quanzhou. But Lin Ke didn't believe her and said that she said Ming Quan, so he dares to assume that the delivery of the item was just a trick and she wanted him to accompany her to Ming Quan, and did it all because the delivery costs cheaper, and she chose him because he has no means of transportation and it's convenient to follow. He embarrassedly told him not to say any made-up nonsense. Suddenly he held out his hand and told her he was going back to town, offered to go with him. Wei gladly agreed. They went into town and he asked her who had agreed to bring her here. She said that the man's name was Hu Yu. He was a D8 ranked knight-errant, but he was probably already dead. At this point, the protagonist stopped because he knew Yu Hu as Uncle Hu. He had been his teammate for 2 months and a good man, and the motorcycle that the protagonist had to sell was repaired by Hu Yu. Over the years, the protagonist had witnessed the death of endless people, both strangers and close friends, so he was used to it. They came to Quanzhou and she told him that everything in this city is too desolate and all the people are not friendly to foreigners, and every time someone moves in or out you have to pay for 3 days, and said that in Mingwan is much better. But he told her that her city was even greedier and that outsiders had to pay for 5 days there, but she didn't know that because she was a resident of that city. She pressed a button on her clothes and at that moment her clothes changed. She told him that the windproof mode of this dress was very uncomfortable. Wei embarrassedly asked him where he was looking. He said he hadn't noticed before that she was so beautiful and had a great figure. Wei said she was beautiful by nature. After a while Lin Ke told her that the bridge to the city was destroyed and the alternative route leads through the dead zone. He told her that he had friends who knew the area very well and he could introduce them to her if she needed. After the firestorms, the ecology had been destroyed and much of the area outside the city had become a desert with hidden quicksand that had become a forbidden zone. She told him that he had nothing to worry about and she would figure it out on her own. He handed her his home address and told her if she had any problems she could let him know. A few days later Lin Che returned home and in the afternoon he went to the hospital to visit his sister, but suddenly a man ran out of the hospital and screamed in terror. Lin Che frightened by his sister and ran to her. When he went to her room he found his sister still there and nothing had happened to her. At that moment Director Wang ran into her room and begged for help from his sister to protect him from zombie. But he wasn't going to help him because the first time he tricked him and said he would treat his sister for free for 3 months, but he tricked Lin Ke. Principal Wang grabbed him by the hand and gave him 300 days to live. Lin Ke was very surprised. He didn't understand why he was so scared. He thoughtlessly gave him 300 days to live. Lin Ke asked him why did such things happen in the hospital. The director told him it was because of lack of financing and that the hospital couldn't afford to process the bodies. The protagonist exclaimed to Director Wang that it was all because of his greed. At that moment some zombies entered the room and he told the system to activate his glowing blade. Thanks to his abilities and skill, the protagonist was able to kill these zombies with one punch. One of the zombies was D3 rank and 2 D1 rank, and for him now it was no problem. Lin Ke started to collect the time crystal and he didn't notice Director Wang running out of lifetime. Lin Ke had over 1,385 days of life on his watch and wanted to give it to his sister to transfer her to a better hospital. But at that time Director Wang had already turned into a zombie and he attacked Lin Ke, but thanks to his skill he dodged him. He was shocked and didn't expect that Director Wang could turn into a zombie. Director Wang transformed because of an unnatural death when he had over 20,000 days on his account. Unnatural death is death from old age or death from a disease that comes with the passage of time. In this case, although it is possible to convert time to life, the probability of it is small. Accidental death or fatal injury, in which a person dies before time has expired, even though he had many days. In unnatural death, the more time left when he died, the more likely he is to turn into a zombie, the more powerful he is. The protagonist analyzed, because with all this time, if the transformation was completed, then Director Wang would be a zombie of rank C6. he must be killed before the complete transformation, otherwise it would be a disaster for the entire city. Lin Che told the system to activate the boots and armbands. He used the mountain-shattering fist skill, but Director Wang's strength was too strong and he couldn't do anything. He flew away several meters from this protection. Director Wang is almost completely transformed and in a melee the protagonist can't win. He told the system to open the store. In the store he saw the strongest shotgun. Its value was 500 days. It is a very powerful gun that can shoot the strongest shot bullets. The main character was rapidly losing his lifetime because of internal injuries and he decided to buy the strongest shotgun and a healing potion. It ended up taking 600 days to live. Lin Ku got the gun and shot the zombie with it. By this time, the hospital was already surrounded by the military. Captain Li Zhong had arrived. He belonged to the group of Knights of Glory. Holding the rank of captain, he was reported to him that there was turmoil inside the hospital, which according to the initial estimate was caused by 5 temporary zombies. Captain Li ordered them to block the exits and kill any zombies they saw, as dozens of time crystals could be created from them. He heard loud gunshots inside the hospital and rushed to help. He told his 2 assistants to follow him. They entered the hospital and began to take a look inside as there were many zombies. Captain Li informed them that shots were coming from the east side of the 3rd floor. He said he would go there alone and told his assistants to stay there. Captain Li went upstairs and saw Lin Che taking the time crystal from Director Wang. Captain Li asked him what he was doing here. Lin Che broke the time crystal and said his sister was in that hospital. Captain Li used to be a wanderer. He could be considered Lin Ku's colleague. Captain Li wondered to him how he could disarm this zombie by himself, since he died an unnatural death and got a level C. Lin Ku said that the zombie hadn't transformed completely, and he had simply taken advantage of the moment. But Captain Li hesitated, because even if the transformation wasn't completed, he was still a C class and needed a lot of strength to defeat him. He assumed that Lin Ku had already outgrown the D level. Lin Ku asked the captain, why did he come here? He replied that he was promoted to Knights of Glory half a month ago and is now in charge of this area. Suddenly a zombie came out at him and Lin Ku warned him. Captain Li and the main character worked well together and took out the zombie without any problems. Lin Ku asked the captain if they needed his help, but he refused to help as it was the job of the Knights of Glory and offered to talk after the mission was over. 10 minutes later, Captain Li reported the situation at the hospital. He warned and said that the loss rate was getting higher and higher. Then he asked Lin Ku if he was okay. He replied that he was fine and a few transformed crystals gave him a lot of money back. After a while all the assistants left and Captain Li approached Lin Ku and asked where he got the gun he shot the zombie with. Lin Ku lied to him and said he found it outside the city a few days ago. In this world, long-range weapons of great lethality must be numbered and strictly regulated. Captain Li told him to hide it, and he was lucky that only he saw it, otherwise Lin Ku would have been in big trouble too. The system warned the protagonist to be cautious in the future and not to use the system's weapons in the presence of people. Captain Li approached his sister and said that 6 months ago Lin Ku's sister was in an accident, and Lin Ku applied for extended leave to care for her, but the captain did not expect Lin Ku not only to keep up, but even to be on the verge of surpassing the captain. But Lin Ku told the captain that he had a long way to go. The captain told him that he was being modest, and that he couldn't train and take care of his sister at the same time, so Lin Ku would be wasting his talent. He told Lin Ku that the Doomsday Training Camp was recruiting recruits again. He suggested that Lin Ku give it a try, because if he was accepted it would be very good. In the face of an ever-increasing apocalyptic crisis, it was important to develop truly strong people. 5 years ago the top leadership decided to establish a Doomsday Training Camp. Those who were selected received the best treatment and resources. Every year there is a single call for the Doomsday Camp and only selected young people under 18 with talent are chosen. Last year the main character took part but unfortunately didn't make it. At this time, The protagonist thought about Captain Lee's suggestion, because if he got into the camp, not only would he be protected himself, but his family would also be protected. If he passed the selection, his sister could be treated in the exclusive hospital of the research center, thus at least he would no longer have to worry about his sister's safety. Lin Kuo thanked Captain Lee for the offer and said that he still needed to think about it. After a while, the captain left and Lin Kuo promised himself to go to the Doomsday training camp. Jingshu, once a luxurious neighborhood, is now almost deserted, because it was built on the outer edge of the city. Nowadays there are many more houses than people, you can live in any of them. The protagonist chose a place in the middle of the block, on the bottom floor, to have more time to react in case of danger. Lin Kuo returned home after many days of absence. He took showers and after that he decided to rest on the couch. He opened the system store. The protagonist noticed that the effect of the healing potion from the system store is very good. It is just as effective as the 200-day bottle of healing potion that is sold outside, but the system has it right that he can use what redeeming for himself, otherwise he can earn time by selling potions. A deposit of 300 days per person is required to qualify for the outside area, which is enough for the protagonist and his sister to move in. The protagonist decided to use the rest of the upgrades, since he had just gone up 2 levels in a row and his control over his power had already weakened a bit, so he could no longer increase his power. He decided to try and raise his ability level first. Psychotropic potions can be used to improve his mental abilities with which to further increase his strength skills. Starry Sky Meditation allows him to rethink all his skills to improve their mental abilities, but the price was too high, 2,000 life days. He decided to buy only a psychotropic potion worth 500 days, but it could not raise his mind power to D2. He decided to buy another potion. Thanks to the second potion he was able to raise his mind power to D2 level and the main character got a chance to draw the lottery. It takes 2 vials of spirit potion to raise to D2 level, so it's no wonder that meditation costs 2,000 days. He can't buy it without money, but in any case there is good news, with each increase the main character can raffle off the lottery. He activated the lottery and won the Starry Sky Meditation for 500 days instead of 2,000 days. Lin Kuo was incredibly happy about this. When his mind power caught up with his strength level, he could become invincible. Even if he was still at D level, he would still be able to deal with C level enemies. He told the system to activate the Starry Sky Meditation, but suddenly someone knocked on his door. In this post-apocalyptic world, the marginal area is very dangerous because of poverty. There are often robbers who cheat to take time and one must be careful. Lin Kuo went to the door and asked who was coming. Wei was standing outside the door. He opened the door to her and asked her how she was doing. She went into his apartment and told him that she had been tricked by a knight-errant named Zhao who had a motorcycle. Zhao told her that he could get her back to Ming safely for 200 life days, but he asked for the money back later. After she paid him in full he told her to wait for him on the spot because he had to bring the bike back, but then Zhao disappeared. She only had 9 days left to live, so she decided to go straight to Lin Kuo for help, and he gave her back the 200 days of life she owed him for the stone. If he hadn't gotten the system, he would have probably ended up in the same position as Wei. She was also a fighter, and Lin Kuo asked her what level she was at and answered that she was at D5. Lin Kuo offered to introduce her to people who could help her find work with knights. She was incredibly happy, for she had tried to find work to cover her expenses, but in the end she found that it was too difficult to find good work. The main character told her that his sister had been in a car accident and was unconscious and he needed someone to look after his sister. She said she could handle the job. But Lin Kuo decided to evaluate her skills and told her to attack him. She told him to be careful as she wouldn't hold back. She took a swing at him, but he just stepped aside and tripped her and she fell. Wei started crying and told him how can he be so uncivil to a girl. Lin Kuo asked how she got up to D5 level, relying on medication. Psychic practice mind power, which enhances the ability to manipulate a person's mind to achieve physical strength. Luli strengthen their body and learn new techniques, but with a strong physique and without combat readiness cannot be a real fighter, able to cope with difficulties. Lin Ke tells her that she is too weak. He wonders how she managed to escape without being seen by the zombies. Wei answered that she had a thing that makes her invisible, but it only works on temporary monsters, stronger than her by 3 levels. But he decided to hire her to take care of his sister. He was willing to pay her daily with 2 days to live. Wei gladly agreed, as this wage is very high even for the outer realm. Under normal conditions the daily wage of ordinary people is 35 living hours. He opened the door for her and said he would be waiting for her at 7:30 in the morning and he would take her to work at the hospital, but Wei thought that living is included in her job. Lin Ke asked where she lived before. She said she lived at the Sealton Hotels. The Sealton is a 5-star hotel, and the charge per night is 10 life days, and living there is quite luxurious. He let her stay in his apartment. Lin Ke jokingly asked her if such a beautiful girl was not afraid to be alone with a man. She said she was not afraid of anything and if he wanted to do something to her he would have done it long ago. The next day they arrived at the hospital. Because of yesterday's incident the security of the hospital had been strengthened. Entering the room with his sister he told Wei that her main task was to look after his sister and in a few days he would hire another person to alternate with her when he left here. There are nurses in the hospital, but not regular people, and if there is a second incident like the one before, even 10 nurses won't be enough to kill the zombies. Wei told him that he had nothing to worry about and she would take care of his sister. Lin Ke said he had to go about his business. He would be back when he was done. Lin Ke came to the entrance to the outer area. There is no branch camp in the outer area, so if Lin Ke needs to get to the outer area first if he wants to pass the selection. He walked up to the guard and showed his life hour count. Entry is allowed to those with more than 300 life days. Access to the outside area is only open to people who have at least 300 days on their account. This is to prevent desperate people from entering whose hours are about to be reset, so it effectively lowers the crime rate in the outside area. The protagonist came to the Doomsday Camp and exclaimed that he would succeed this time. He approached the committee and provided him with his ID card. But suddenly someone arrived in a car and almost hit a man. The owner of the car looked out of the window and shouted that they were looking where they were going. The car in this city is considered a symbol of the time when Jingchuan fought hard against temporary zombies. If a man could afford to buy a car, he is definitely unusual. He parked the car and got out with the girl. He hugged her but well embarrassed as there were many people, but he told her that with him she could not be afraid of other people's stares. People were surprised who he was and why he was so impudent. As it turned out his name was Zhao Qingang. Before he was 18 years old, he had already served as a captain in a band of wanderers. The protagonist wondered if at that age he was already a captain of the Wanderer Knights and was at the rank of C. But the man told him that perhaps Zhao was at D8 level. Lin Ke asked, then how could he become a captain, since to become a captain in any of the 4 divisions of knights one must have C-level strength. But Zhao was the second son of the Zhao family from the inner realm and it was easy for him to get the rank of captain. Lin Ke remembered, because yesterday, Wei had told him that someone with a similar name had promised to transfer her to the city, but had cheated. He decided to confirm it and took a picture of Zhao and sent it to Wei, who confirmed it was him. 10 minutes later the camp entrance examiner came. He said there were 3 tests. The first test was a comprehensive physical fitness test and told all candidates to follow him. His name is Zhao Ziyan, Deputy Commander of the Knights. Members of the order are divided into 4 classes in ascending order of rank: Knight, Captain, Commander, and Master. The applicants were told that the first physical test is a comprehensive test of speed, strength and reflexes. It is prohibited to use reinforced weapons or other methods. The speed test began where you had to run 100 meters in 5.5 seconds. Lin Ke was waiting for his turn and at that moment he asked Zhao, why did he cheat the man for 200 days yesterday? Zhao wondered if it was his friend. he said he had never seen such naive people, and even if he didn't cheat her, she was cheated by someone else. Zhao told him what his girlfriend was counting on when she agreed to take his car for only 200 lifetimes. Lin Ku asked him if he knew that after he tricked her she only had 9 lifetimes left. Zhao replied that he wouldn't have cared if Wei had died, as many people had died in this world and Wei was no exception. Lin Ku was furious with Zhao and told him that he didn't deserve to be a wanderer. Zhao told him that Lin Ku should mind his own business. Zhao said that he knew his name was Lin Ku and he had a sister in serious condition, and if he didn't want anything to happen to her, Lin Ku should shut up. Lin Ku angrily replied that Zhao would pay for his words, but he didn't care and knew that Lin Ku couldn't do anything to him. After a while it was Lin Ku's turn to take the running exam, and he ran the 100 meters in 4.35 seconds. The students were astonished by his performance. The best time was 4.56 seconds. Even Zhao was very surprised by his results. He thought that he was at a D8 level. The next test was for strength. Lin Ku hit a special wall and his impact force was 856 kilograms. Everyone was surprised again by his result, as a normal D8 level fighter hits about 800 kilograms. Reaction test. 10 machines randomly fire 100 high-speed bouncing balls for 10 seconds, you have to dodge 60 or more balls. Enter a special room. The test began. He deftly dodged all the balls, while the other contestants stood outside the room and saw his result. Before long he dodged all 100 balls and everyone was shocked by this result. Zhao was perplexed and couldn't believe it. Lin Ku walked out of the room. In fact, in addition to being a man with physical abilities, he was also psychic. With mental power he could perceive the subtle movements of each machine gun and reacted in advance. The examiner said that Lin Ku, who passed the comprehensive physical fitness test with flying colors, gained access to the next stage. 10 minutes later, the second test began, a fight in which contestants can use their techniques and improvements. Then the person whose name is read by the examiner disarms. The two enter the ring to measure their strength. The winner goes to the next round, and the loser is eliminated. Zhao came up to Lin Ku and said he was so cocky recently, but a little more and Lin Ku will understand his place. Lin Ku asked him if he was sure they would fight each other. After a while, the examiner said the next fight would be between Lin Ku and Zhao. The main character wonders if they are supposed to fight, but how could Zhao know they would be paired? He noticed that the examiner had the same last name as Zhao. He assumed he was from the same extended family. Zhao entered the ring. Zhao exclaimed to him that Lin Ku would get it for meddling. Lin Ku replied to him that scum like Zhao had no chance of winning because such people only disgrace the reputation of knights. After 10 seconds the fight started and Zhao tried to get away from Lin Ku, but he put his fist up and he stopped. Zhao was greatly surprised by his strength. At that moment Lin Ku decided to use the skill of the fist breaking mountains. From such a powerful blow Zhao flew away several meters and fell. He did not understand how this was possible, but Lin Ku was not going to stop there and hit Zhao again. Zhao realized that Lin Ku hadn't shown his full strength in the previous tests. Lin Ku told him, the strength Zhao possessed wouldn't be able to kill a zombie even at D7 level, and the fact that he became the captain of knights was a humiliation to the honor of knights. Zhao was incredibly angry at Lin Ku and tried to hit him, but suddenly his movements slowed down. Physical strength can strengthen the body, and the power of the mind can give a fighter a readout of movements that are not visible to ordinary people. To the protagonist the movements of his opponent will seem like in slow motion. Lin Ku dodged his punch and kicked him in the stomach with his knee. Zhao fell down and Lin Ku asked him if he couldn't get up. Zhao didn't understand what was happening, for he thought Lin Ku was at D8 level. Suddenly he unmasked his finger and under the disguise was a poison needle ring. He swung at Lin Ku and wanted to kill him with one punch. Lin Ku wanted to stop him hitting with his hand, but at the last moment he noticed he had a poison needle ring on his hand. Lin Ku grabbed him by the shoulder and threw him over himself. Twisting his arm Lin Ku called the examiner to disqualify Zhao for cheating. The examiner ran up to them and exclaimed that Lin Ku was cheating. The main character stood there in utter bewilderment. The examiner took Zhao and said that Lin Ku had used a poisoned needle to win, and disqualified Lin Ku from that stage. He looked down at the floor and saw the poisoned needle ring lying beside him. He could not understand how it had been placed beside him. The professor called him a liar and dismissed him, so he knew Lin Ku understood that Zhao and the professor were in cahoots. Everyone else began to condemn Lin Ku for using the poison needle, but other people said that Zhao was too weak and unworthy to wear the rank of captain. But Lin Ku wasn't going to leave it like that. He went to his briefcase and took his phone. He showed everyone the photo of Zhao with a girl, and on his left hand he was wearing the same ring that had just been found during the fight. Everyone involved was shocked, and realized that Zhao wanted to frame Lin Ku. Zhao and the examiner didn't understand how this could happen. The examiner went to Lin Ku and apologized to him for the incident. He took it back and said he would wait for him at 2 in the afternoon for the third trial. The protagonist noticed that this man was strong and his level was at least C4, but he didn't understand why he was still the examiner. Zhao was angry at the protagonist and promised revenge on him, but Lin Ku, as a precaution, decided to leave things as they were, and after the third test, Lin Ku wanted revenge on him. Zhao told his brother the examiner that he had to get revenge on him, but his brother told him he had another idea and asked him to trust him. Lin Ku went outside. He still had 4 hours of free time before 2 p.m., so he decided to find a cafe to pass the time. He went to a cafe and was there for several hours. He left the cafe at 2 p.m. He was surprised he hadn't seen anyone. Lin Ku felt something was wrong. Lin Ku went to the guard and asked him if he was here for the third stage of recruitment. He wondered why there was no one here. The guard said the venue had been changed. The new venue is at the southwestern wall. Lin Ku was angry and exclaimed why no one had told him this, but the guard said that every contestant should have received a text message, but Lin Ku checked the messages but there was no text message. He assumed it was the examiner's doing. The main character only had 16 minutes to get to the new venue. At that time, there was a count taking place at the southwest gate, and there were only 10 people, 2 of whom did not show up, with only 2 minutes to go before the examiner said that anyone who came later would be disqualified. The examiner wanted Lin Ku to be late, and put his little brother Zhao in his place. Zhao said he would take revenge on Lin Ku after the exam. But at the last minute, Lin Ku came running, wearing the boots he had gotten from the system. He was much faster in them. The third exam began and only one person was late, instead of which Zhao was put in. The test implied that all participants go out into the city and kill zombies. Participants could not use upgraded equipment, only what the exam suggests. All weapons would be kept by the examiners. If the participants noticed weapons, he would have serious problems. Lin Ku went to the cabinet where the standard equipment was and it was not the best, but he had to put them on. After a while the participants were led to the Jinhui area. There are not many zombies in this area, and they each have their own number. After one of the participants kills a zombie, they need to use scanners to save information about it. Each scanner gives an extra point. The higher the score, the more chances to pass the exam. Time for the exam is 1 hour. Only the top 10 will pass the exam. The examiner gave 10 minutes to prepare. The protagonist spent a lot of energy and he needed to recover. The power of the mind is restored by thinking, the physical by breathing. Zhao encouraged the 2 participants to deal with Lin Ku. Zhao prepared a reinforced weapon for them, which lies in room 205 on the 2nd floor. They thanked him. 10 minutes later, the examiner gave the start of the third exam and all the participants ran to take the exam. Lich Ku ran to the 9th building and there he encountered a zombie of rank D3. He killed it without any problems and received a time crystal. Despite the fact that the main character is now in the exam, time crystals are still very valuable. He got 3 points for killing a zombie and was in 3rd place in the ranking. Lin Ku thought that with his strength he would easily be in the top 10 and pass the test. After every selection only 10 recruits are recruited. The protagonist knew that Zhao would try to harm him, and as the protagonist didn't have any enhanced weapons he needed to be careful. Lin Ku opened the system store and bought the Swift Jerk skill, thanks to which in an instant he could leap from a place with tremendous speed. The cost of the skill was 500 days of life. He tested the skill and was satisfied, but the skill only lasts 1 second and can be used in 1-minute intervals. Lin Ku decided to go upstairs and see the situation. He bravely and determinedly killed all the zombies without any problem, taking their time crystals, and his lifetime was rapidly increasing. But he was still in 3rd place, as the remaining contestants were quite strong and capable. Suddenly Lin Ku was attacked by an unfamiliar contestant. He had an incredibly strong blade. He swung at Lin Ku, but he dodged the blow at the last moment. Lin Ku wondered why he attacked him. At this time the second contestant came out. He laughed and asked why his friend didn't use an enhanced weapon in the first attack. His friend told him to shut up and said that Lin Ku was just very fast. Lin Ku angrily asked them again who they were and why they attacked him. He replied that Lin Ku was interrupting someone. The protagonist immediately realized that Zhao was involved. Among the 20 participants, twin brothers could only be with the same last name. He asked them. Their names were Lu Wen and Lu Wu, and the person who sent them to him was obviously Zhao. But they didn't care what he said, for they were now outside the city and were not subject to the existing laws. They said that Zhao only wanted his leg, but they received such a great favor from Zhao that 1 leg was not enough, and they decided to bring life to Lin Ku. Lin Ku grinned at them, for he really was found outside the city, and if he killed these brothers he would have nothing. The brothers attacked him, but Lin Ku, thanks to his jerk skill with great speed, attacked them first. The second brother decided to help the first and attacked Lin Ku with his blade, but Lin Ku dodged it and a crack was formed on the roof. The brother with the blade covered his brother and started to attack Lin Ku, and Lin Ku noticed that his blade is very strong, but as long as it doesn't hurt someone, I don't care how strong the weapon is, it's just a toy. He tried several times to wound Lin Ku, but all his attempts were futile. The protagonist realized that the brothers never left the city and never fought a zombie, as their attacks have many mistakes. Lin Ku hit him on the shoulder and his opponent's blade fell out of his hands. He decided to seize the moment and killed the first brother. The second brother stood in a stupor and did not expect Lin Ku to be so strong. At this point Lin Ku killed the second brother. At this time, the protagonist was in a very calm state during the beginning of the end when everyone was fighting for their lives. These were not the first villains that the protagonist killed. Lin Ku took the blade and thought it was an expensive blade, but if it was seen, the examiners would think Lin Ku was a fraud, so he decided to hide it and retrieve it after the test was over. 30 minutes later, Lin Ku was in 4th place with 28 points, Zhao was in 5th place with 16 points. Lin Ku purposely did not scan all the codes, and if he counted, his points should exceed the current first place of 36 points. Lin Ku decided not to stand out because in this case Zhao could do something else. These 28 points were enough to place him in the top 10. After all, there were only 10 minutes left until the end of the test, and those lagging behind wouldn't be able to catch up with this result. Lin Ku looked at the lifetime clock. The clock had 4,866 days of life on it. Although he had about 1,000 days before the exam, he had collected a lot of time crystals in this exam. Even if he failed the exam, it was already a good result. The main character and the other participants are outside of the city, and after each hunt the patrols have to take almost all the time they received, so the main character intentionally kept some time crystals intact. This time will be enough to go to level D9. He told the system to open a store since he wanted to buy genetic potions. Lin Ku reached rank D8 and received 1 lottery. From level D7 to level D8 only 4 bottles of genetic potions were drunk. As a result he drank 12 bottles in 2466 life days. He decided to use the lottery and got the skill, Thunder Kite. the description said, use your mind to pass the element of thunder in the air and form a lightning kite of tremendous power. He decided to see how much this skill cost in the store. When he saw the price of 15,000 life days, the protagonist was shocked. Climbing on the roof, he decided to test this skill, and his hands were released thunder snake. From its impact on the wall appeared a small destruction. The skill was quite strong, and thanks to this he became even stronger. But it is better not to show this skill to anyone. You can use it as a secret weapon. After a while Lin Ku went downstairs, and there he ran into Zhao. Seeing Lin Ku, he couldn't believe that he couldn't defeat him. He had noticed that Lin Ku's rating had risen during the time he had been down there. He told the protagonist that he was upset to see him too alive. Lin Ku replied to him that even on such a challenge he wanted to cheat. Zhao told him that he might not leave the challenge today. Lin Ku laughed at him, for he had heard these words from a man who had been defeated twice. Zhao said he wanted to deprive him of his leg, but he was asking to die himself. Lin Ku offered to take the moment while no one was around to solve their problem once and for all. Zhao swung his blade and aimed a wind blade at him, but this attack was too slow for Lin Ku. He used the jerk skill and hit Zhao in the stomach with great speed and told him that only his fists were enough for the likes of him. Zhao was furious at Lin Ku and attacked first again, but his D9 level and mental strength, D8 level attacks seemed like in slow motion. He dodged and hit Zhao in the face. He was in a lot of pain. Lin Ku told him that he was just a mama's boy living off his parents' money, also cheating defenseless people, and if Zhao paid everything with interest he was willing to think of him to let him live. But Zhao wasn't going to give up and used the swift glowing cut skill, but Lin Ku defended with the soul destruction ability and Zhao's attack was destroyed. Zhao stood there stunned, wondering if he was really at D9 level. He didn't ask Lin Ku why he was so surprised. Zhao said that according to his data, he may not be at D9 level. Lin Ku said that there are many things he does not know. He gave him 5 seconds to make a good decision, otherwise he would kill Zhao. But Zhao said he couldn't kill him. He was the son of a powerful and rich man, and his brother was an examiner. Lin Ku asked him, so what of it? Zhao was terrified and understood that Lin Ku would really kill him. Suddenly he saw the participants passing by. He called them for help and said that Lin Ku wanted to kill him. Lin Ku understood that the extra eyes only complicate things, as he wanted to solve everything with Zhao using time crystals, but with the spectators this plan can be undone. Zhao realized that Lin Ku couldn't kill him in front of witnesses and exclaimed to him to kill him if he had the courage. But Lin Ku decided to fight back, but he couldn't kill Zhao anyway. He grabbed Zhao by the arm and broke his point-counting sensor, and now Zhao could no longer earn points. Lin Ku opened the player rating and Zhao was in 10th place. He only had to wait for him to be in 11th place and quit the exam. After a while Zhao went down to 11th place. After a while, the examiner exclaimed that at the end of the test, the top 10 in points would pass the 3rd stage and told everyone to go back to the gathering place. Zhao's brother was angry with Zhao because he couldn't get past the losers who had been assigned specifically to make Zhao pass the 3rd stage. Zhao asked his brother what he should do. But brother replied that the ranking could not be cheated and he only had to wait for the next time. Zhao promised to destroy Lin Ku. Brother smiled wickedly and said that Zhao would not have to get his hands dirty. Half an hour later, the entrants were given a doomsday military camp enrollment agreement. The examiner told everyone to read all the points in this document, and then it would be up to them to choose whether they would sign it or not. The terms of the agreement were very attractive. All enrollees after signing the contract would receive a bonus of 500 life days, as well as the right to permanent residence in the outer area, a monthly guaranteed salary of 150 life days, and all this only for the internship period. Then there would be double the salary. Lin Ku was amazed, because the conditions are much better now than then, and this is only the first batch of recruits. An examiner walked by him and exclaimed, if someone refuses to sign, they can leave. Lin Ku didn't know what the examiner was up to, but he decided to watch out for him. This camp was created by the owner of the city himself. One would have to undergo special training and one would have to try hard, but more important to Lin Ku was his sister, and if he signed the contract she would receive good treatment, so Lin Ku could not help signing the contract. The examiner saw Lin Ku signing the contract and thought to himself, "Boy, you're dead." After a while, the recruits were brought to the Doomsday Training Camp. The examiner said each of them could get a room here from 601 to 610 and the choice was up to him. Then the examiner decided to gather everyone at 8 o'clock in the training room on the top floor and told everyone to come without reinforced weapons. The main character suspected something was wrong. He called Wei and asked about his sister's condition, but there was a hidden camera in the room. The examiner could see through it and heard what Lin Ku was talking about. Lin Ku didn't know about it and told Wei he couldn't go to the hospital to visit his sister today. The examiner called someone and said he needed to find someone. Lin Ku has a sister who is in a coma after a serious accident 6 months ago in the 9th Regional Hospital. He said that something needs to be done to her. At 1950 Lin Ku came to the training hall and the chief instructor of the future training camp came to them. His name is Zhang Xiong. He was Master C9's personal bodyguard and now also the head of the Knights. Lin Ku was in a stupor when he heard the C9 level. Zhang Xiong congratulated everyone who had joined the Doomsday Camp as participants in the Phoenix program. He told them that he was the chief instructor of the future training camp. His name was Zhang Xiong. Project Phoenix is now the focus of the Lord of the City. As the name implies, it has been launched to revive from the ashes. Zhang told all the newcomers, even though they have signed a contract, it does not mean there is no going back. They can terminate the contract and refuse any benefits at any time. He said that their examiner would be in charge of their training in the future. Lin Ku was surprised, because he would obviously try to take out Lin Ku. After a while Zhang Xiong left. The examiner said they didn't have much time, so today he decided to teach them a D-level technique. This is a boxing technique and told everyone to learn it. He told Lin Ku to go up to him. When he went up to him he asked, does he want to avenge his brother? He said his brother was useless, but he was family and Lin Ku should not mess with Zhao. Lin Ku asked him what he wanted. The examiner said that he shouldn't provoke him, otherwise Lin Ku would know the full power of the Zhao family. The examiner turned to all the newcomers and said that the D-level technique he was talking about was called Tiger Style, and told everyone to watch this technique carefully. Suddenly, he swung with all his strength and wanted to hit Lin Ku's face with the Tiger Style.